How are we doing? I'm going to be discussing Bose products today. And before we get into that subject, just to let you know, my name is Richard, and I used to work at a very large retailer of electronics. I'm not going to disclose their name. Um, However, as you can see from my badge, I worked in home theater, and I was one of the salesmen. I always was out on the floor helping people in finding solutions for TV, for home theater, essentially. You know, your TV, your Blu-ray, DVD player. You'd have your audio. You know, all things related to home theater. That was my job. And one thing that I always used to notice is that people always come in and you want to hear or see what you're going to buy. And when it came to audio, there was a big problem. You see, when people come into Best Buy, I'm sure we've all done it, you'd look at the speakers, probably you'd pick them up. If you can touch the actual speaker itself, you probably push it back and forth. You know, people do this, and that damages a lot of the products. What ends up happening is that a lot of them don't work. Now we have this beautiful Bose demo that is specially designed by Bose, where it is simultaneously almost impossible to break short of taking a sledgehammer to the products, but is also made with swing out rear speakers to ensure that it is set up in a similar fashion to what you'd probably set it up like at home, except for the fact it really is not. And because the speakers are so close and upfront and personal with you, I'm sure you've all hit the play button and then gone, wow, when this thing turns on and screams the living hell at you. You're like, wow, that's loud. And it sounds great. It's like a cinema. It's like a movie theater. The reason this is built like this is because Bose needs to be able to reliably deliver a performance that can be different than anything else that they can find. And what this means is for you as a customer, that you're going to be experiencing a product that has an unfair advantage over its local competition because of the fact that, one, the demos are created by sound engineers who have to tailor the frequencies and the equalizers and everything in the mastering phase of making these demos to counteract the deficiencies that the product they're selling has, which is why oftentimes you'll notice Bose does not have one or two demos. They actually have demos for the exact system that they are selling, whether it be the Bose Cinemate GS2 series or the Wave Radio, or if it's like the 321 system. All of them have their own demos. This is because it's tailored to make that demo sound as good as possible. What they also do, they use a lot of audio fluff. They use words like rich, expansive, cinema-like, dynamic, room filling, all these different words. Now, let's do a very simple logic test here, and you'll see why they can get away with using it. Room filling, that is a very popular term by Bose. Room filling sound, what does that mean? Well, I'm talking to you right now, and I'm pretty sure if somebody was standing at the door, they'd hear me talking. If somebody was standing behind me, they'd hear me talking. Therefore, it is arguably, I can say, excuse me, I'm sorry, arguably, you can say if the person behind me and the person in the door and the person who could be located over here on the left side of my room to your monitor right, if they can hear me, then the sound of my voice is filling the room. Ergo, my voice has a room-filling sound. When they say the sound is rich, well, how do you define a rich sound? A very popular definition of rich is being saturated. In other words, if you're eating a very rich chocolate bar, that means it's probably very cocoa-y. It's saturated. It doesn't have a soft taste. It's very hearty. Well, the same can be said with sound. If you completely blow your mid-range out, if you exaggerate any notes, then those notes are essentially rich. It's like a car. If you have a car with a carburetor, when you say your car is running rich, it means the engine is saturated with fuel. It is burning more fuel. It is using more fuel. It is running rich. That is what that term means. Expansive It simply means that unlike your TV, which is delivering audio from essentially a localized point straight up the center, because the Bose systems, you're placing the speakers to your left and the right, the speakers are expanded from where you would normally watch TV and ergo hear sound. So it gives you an expansive sound. When they say it has a cinema quality, a cinema contains a center speaker, left and right, rear speakers, and a subwoofer. Therefore, if the Bose system also has a center speaker, left and right speakers, and rear speakers, and a subwoofer, you can say it has a cinema-like sound, because it is essentially delivering audio in the same theoretical way that a cinema does. And this is how they get away with using these terms. Now, if we were to talk about sound quality, Bose speakers are known for reproducing very limited amounts of audio. To give you an idea, the lowest note that the average human can hear is a 20 hertz signal. That means a speaker is moving back and forth 20 times in a second. No, wait, I'm sorry. I don't know the exact mathematics on this one. I'm very sorry about that. In terms of how many cycles per second, but it moves 20 cycles, and it moves incredibly slow. Whereas the highest note that the average person can hear is effectively 20,000 kilohertz, which I'm pretty sure you can figure means 20,000 cycles. In other words, insanely fast. And because of this massive, broad array of notes that we can hear, you would have what we call in the industry a frequency response. Now, what a frequency response means is simply what notes can a system play? What is the highest note that it can play at what decibel? Now, decibel is the measurement of the level of sound. In other words, a low decibel reading would be something like the loudness of my voice, where a loud or high decibel reading could be the loudness of a jet engine, if you get what I'm saying, volume. That's a very simple way of putting it. And what they do is a frequency response will tell you this system can play, let's say, for argument's sake, a 20 hertz note at, 80 decibels, right? But that same system, while playing a 15,000 kilohertz note, can only play that note at maybe 20 decibels. With that saying, there's a very large volume difference in between those notes. Does it mean that it can play them? Yes. However, what does that mean for you? That means, well, wouldn't you assume that 15,000 kilohertz note, wouldn't that sound a lot lower where I wouldn't hear it? Yes. This is how Bose products essentially sound, where, you see, even if they were to come out and say, yes, they do play a 20,000 kilohertz note, which, mind you, they haven't even done, they've never provided specs, you would have a system where the notes above 17,000 kilohertz, which somebody measured themselves, are almost non-existent, where sound just seems to disappear. It can't reproduce all the frequencies. Now, even if, let's say, okay, to you it sounds great, then great. If it sounds great to you, of course it will, because it sounds a lot better than odds are of what you have. So if this sounds so great, why would millionaires go out and buy these insanely expensive audio systems? You could say it's because it's a status symbol, and yes, odds are it's probably what it is. However, why would the average man show up at his house and have a $15,000 audio system from a company like Bowers and Wilkins when he's probably driving around, a Chevy or, your average car? Why would a man like that get a system like that if he could get a Bose system for $3,000? Well, have you ever heard what a $15,000 speaker sounds like? Odds are you haven't. And if you've heard one that has been properly set up, because remember, in order for audio to sound the best, it requires assembly, it requires setting up, it requires tuning, it requires you to have to calibrate it, and not just hitting a button and expecting it to be calibrated. We're talking about speaker placement in order to make sure the waves that create sound get to your ears in a way that when they reproduce the sounds can simulate what the master artist of whatever you're hearing intended that sound to sound like. That is the art of sound. And you can't do that by just knocking a couple speakers on a wall and plugging them in. You can't. No room EQ wizard is going to tune your speakers completely. Why would these products exist? Why would people buy them? If you've heard what the Bowers & Wilkins diamond speakers sound like, you will never ever look at Bose the same again. So please, everybody out there, before you buy a Bose product, I'd like you to go down to your local large electronics store and look up a section in this store that contains, in home theater, a special room that contains a lot of high-end audio equipment. Because I can't mention names, I can't exclusively tell you what store and what the name of this section is. But by odds are, if you've ever been to any large audio retailers, you will know what store I'm talking about. And I urge you to go in and ask somebody there to give you a demo. Tell them, listen, I'm not buying. I just would like to hear the difference. And as Bose's slogan, they like to say, hear the difference in sound. That may not be their official slogan last time I checked, but whatever it is, they do like to say that. I'd like you to hear the real difference in sound. And at that point, if you choose to say that, oh, well, those pieces of audio equipment in this room, I don't see why I should buy them. If you've heard it, then it's fine to give your opinion, because I can put my reputation on the line and say you will admit they sound way better. However, excuse me, my chair got stuck. However, we all have different needs. Some of us can't afford $15,000 speakers. Some of us have kids. Some of us, we have limited budgets. We have limited situations or space. We can't accommodate them. Yes, Bose is good for delivering sound that is better than your TV in a very inobtrusive way, and that's Bose's key. So if you want sound quality, you'd be looking elsewhere than Bose. But if sound quality is not as important as having to find an audio system to conform to your everyday needs, then Bose is probably what you would be looking at. So therefore, like I said, sound quality, it's not Bose. Better sound than what you might have right now in a realistic real world environment, yes, then Bose becomes an option. So this is what I'm trying to tell you, that Bose is not about sound quality per se. It sounds good, but it sounds nowhere near as good as it should for the kind of reputation that Bose insists on keeping. My name is Richard, and today I brought you this review as a simple constructive criticism on Bose and why they are popular, and hopefully giving you a more open mind into looking into things that could be an alternate and better, I guess you could say, solution. Have a great day.